My name is Joseph Pfender. I am the program book managing editor at the Aspen Music Festival and School. And I am delighted today to be speaking with Alejandro Cremaschi, who is a professor of piano pedagogy at University of Colorado at Boulder. Hello, Alejandro.
Hello, Joseph.
Thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us. And I just thought we'd start, if you could just explain a little bit about yourself and where you are in the world and in the world of music.
Sure. Well, I'm originally from Argentina. I grew up there, came to the US when I was 23 to study, and I teach now at CU Boulder, as you mentioned. I've been here since 2004. And yeah, so I do, I've always been looking for repertoire from Latin America, repertoire off the beaten path, let's say, the European repertoire. So always been playing and teaching that. And now Hidden Voices is a project that we started here in 2019, in the fall of 2019. And basically we're looking at music in the Walker Hill collection, which is a very special collection of music hosted here in Norlin. It's part of the American Music Research Center here at CU. And this particular collection is interesting because it contains pieces composed by Black female composers. And so we started this project looking for pieces for piano specifically. I involved students in looking at this archive and recording and writing short articles about these pieces through a pedagogical lens. I teach piano pedagogy, so that's kind of my main interest. And the goal was to make this music better known in the field. Not many of these composers are known around, and although some are, of course, Florence Price and Valerie Capers, but other composers are completely new to people teaching piano. So the idea was to create a website that could serve as a resource for piano students and pianists and piano teachers in general. So that has been growing. This is going to be the third year. And I have about 7 students now involved in looking through the music, learning some of the pieces, and we're going to be recording and adding some of those in the spring.
Fantastic. It's a very exciting project. And I'm curious, well, there are a couple of directions to go. How have you found that this project has impacted the piano pedagogy that you practice and that you teach? I mean, does the new repertoire that you're finding and that you're encouraging students to find making you revisit some aspects of your teaching?
Well, I mean, in terms of diversifying repertoire, I think that's in everybody's minds these days. And it's interesting because we started this project before George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. This was in 2019, before the pandemic. So our first semester, we actually were able to go into, and I think I'm getting the years wrong, because we did start in fall 2018. So we did have a full year of free access, I mean, open access to the archive. And the first recordings that we did were in 2019. The idea of diversifying the repertoire and including more music composed by female composers and also Black composers, I think it's in everyone's minds. It's so interesting to see the students actually getting involved with this project and using some of those pieces to teach and performing some of those pieces. I think that's kind of the goal of this project, is to, not to replace the canon, because there's beautiful things in the traditional canon, but to make it richer and to give a voice to those who did not actually have a voice for many centuries in the canon. Yeah, so I mean, in that regard, it makes you think, why should I assign the same Beethoven sonatina or Chopin waltz if I could maybe looking at this music that has it's beautiful, and it has kind of a different voice and a different story behind, and it's, I don't know, it's part of being just to all this work and all this beautiful creations that are out there. So yeah.
And I wonder if, as you're describing the pedagogical usefulness, the sort of the richness that you're finding, that Hidden Voices is finding, do you think that your students, as piano pedagogues in the making, are, do you think that they see themselves in this music? Do you think that there's some way that this is sort of tapping into their motivations or their identities in ways that sort of expand our idea of what piano pedagogy can be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've noticed this in the last year and a half, where, you know, I teach a pedagogy course that for many years, more than 10 years, we've always looked at the canon, basically at the intermediate level. And I get a sense that students are, you know, that this is music that they know, that they're familiar with, and they want to really find new things for their teaching and for their own playing as well. So yeah, there's I think there's great interest, and you know, some of the students may not end up using some of the material in the Walker Hill collection, but by just exploring the collection, they are realizing that there's a lot more than what you can find through the years in the usual teaching books that the library that we've been using for many years. So that's, to me, that's kind of mission accomplished, you know, just getting them to think outside the box, that things go beyond Bach and Beethoven and Bergmüller and Brahms, and that there are other composers out there that have interesting things to say. So yeah, I've seen students being more and more interested in that and really kind of taking the idea and running with it, kind of.
So, and then can you help me understand a little more what the timeline of the pedagogy program is? Is it an undergraduate concentration?
Right. We have both undergrad and grad classes, and the core courses are two courses. At the undergraduate level, we look at elementary pedagogy with kind of the basics and how to teach technique and reading and rhythm and all of that. And then the second semester, we look at intermediate repertoire. So once you have kind of created you have laid the ground with the student, you know, after a couple of years of study, what kind of things do you want to work on? And so that particular second course we spend a lot of time looking at repertoire, and that has changed in this last 2 years, as I said.
Right. So then we mentioned that you want your goal, or the reality of this website is that it's can be used as a future resource. Right. And so I assume that there's no plan for it to taper. I mean, it's available at the moment. There are a number of posts online that are a combination of performances and short essays by students. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and what's the URL of that?
Yeah, the URL is I have to look it up. I have bookmarked it, so but let me actually. So it's colorado.edu/project/hidden-voices, and yeah, so Hidden Voices, and then you'll find, you know, different menu options there to look at the articles and also at the videos.
And so is this, are you seeing that the project sort of is enriching the repertoire choices and the sort of the horizon of the students? Are you seeing this? Have you pushed it out anywhere else? Are you seeing anyone else start to take it up or do some of their own research on their own, other piano pedagogues or other programs?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the field, there's a lot of interest now in the field to explore music, you know, by underrepresented composers, and And there are other websites like A Seat at the Piano, for example, that's a very large one as well, that are doing these kinds of things. The students really, as I mentioned earlier, got the idea and ran with it. They've done 3 presentations on national conferences in the US, the MTNA conference, the NCKP conference, where they presented this work that they're doing with this archive and the website.
And so, sorry, just to point that out, the Music Teachers National Association was the MTNA, and the other was
the other is the National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy, which is a biannual conference. So those are the larger conferences, and then also presented at the state conference last summer, the Colorado Music Teachers Association. And so yes, and those conferences were virtual because of the pandemic, but there was a lot of interest from attendees, and they tell me at the archive here that the number of requests have kind of exploded in this last year. I don't credit this project as the only reason, but I think we are I think the field is becoming more aware of what's there, and there's a lot of requests for the music now, and I think it kind of went tenfold from 2019 to 2020. It was incredible. So I think we're kind of doing our little part to do that.